Hello and welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Kato. Tensions are running high in the Czech Republic, where efforts to form a new government are being threatened by a political outcry over Filip Turek, the far-right Motorist Party figure nominated to become foreign minister. Despite Andrej Babiš and his ANO party's clear victory in this month's elections, coalition talks have stalled amid backlash to Turek's nomination following revelations of racist and homophobic posts on his social media. But that's only part of the challenging landscape. To tell us more about how far or close the Czechs are to forming a new government, we bring in Jan Čulik, senior lecturer of the Czech language at the University of Glasgow. Hello, and thank you very much for joining us. So let's begin with Filip Turek. So the nomination of Filip Turek as foreign minister has sparked outrage in Prague. Do you think this controversy could derail Andrej Babiš's efforts to form a new government?
I wonder whether it is being kicked into the kind of distance in a way, because Andrej Babiš had a meeting with the leaders of this crazy motorists party yesterday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Prior to that meeting, Babiš said that he was obviously going to investigate these accusations, and did he really, Mr. Turek, publish all those gross racist comments. And basically, after that meeting, as I'm saying, it's been kicked into the long grass. Babiš banned anyone from his ANO party from talking about it. And it's quite interesting, the head of the motorists, Mr. Matsinka, was originally, on Sunday, was saying that we will never give up Turek. Turek must be foreign minister and like that. And they are now actually changing their mind and are saying maybe it is not necessary that he would be foreign secretary. And actually the latest news which came from last night is that they are actually not going to talk, any of them, about who will be what minister. They are going to talk about the political program, Babiš's people said, right? And they are putting off the appointing of ministers until the beginning of November. There have been also some comments from the Czech president, Pavel, who basically said if this thing proves true, that he published these racist comments, I obviously couldn't appoint him to any position. So, I mean, it is very embarrassing, but one thing is actually quite clear. While these two small crazy parties that Mr. Babiš depends on in order to get more than 100 seats in the 200-seat Czech parliament, while they originally kind of were talking about, we want to push through our crazy program, now at the moment they are basically only wanting to stay in parliament. So it looks as though when Babiš is forcing them to change or to even give up their program, they will probably go along with it. There is this other crazy party, SPD, who wanted to leave the European Union and NATO. And of course, Babiš's people said, absolutely under no circumstances the Czech Republic is leaving the European Union or NATO. So it is very embarrassing for Babiš. And as I said, he doesn't even want to talk about it. And it's kind of being, as I'm saying, being kicked into the long grass. And the situation is totally uncertain. Nobody knows what's going to happen next.
Well,
President, they are talking about. Yes,
if I may jump in, President Pavel said he doesn't want to draw any premature conclusions, but also warned that if the accusations are true, it would be a fundamental problem. Now, I wanted to ask, how much power does the president realistically have to block Turek's nomination? And also, to combine that, what conclusions can we draw that Babiš now really wants to really hold back on any media comments in regards to the possible nominations?
Well, I think in the first place, to answer your question about the president, this is actually very unclear, because on the one hand, he certainly does have to approve these nominations. And he was actually saying that if this is a very interesting theoretical question. what happens if the population votes against democracy? Should the president have the power to block this? And he, of course, is saying if they want to appoint anti-democratic ministers, I will certainly intercede. But at the same time, of course, these supporters of the motorists or Turek are basically saying, are yelling, the president is trying to break our democratic decision. So it's an interesting controversy. I think the president would prevail, but of course, I can't read the future. And what was the other question again? Oh, whether Babiš, what is Babiš's position since he doesn't want to talk about it?
Well, they're holding back from...
Yes. Moving back from this, well, I think he's basically totally embarrassed. It's a pity that Babiš, as various commentators are saying, that he didn't actually try to negotiate with some other parties in the Czech parliament, the more normal ones, say like the Pirates, because he could have easily, possibly, formed a coalition with them. But there is a kind of blockage. Some commentators have said there's a lot of kind of anger amongst various members of the parliament, and there is no chance really for proper, reasonable cooperation between what used to be the government of Petr Fiala and with this new crazy setup. So the situation is very uncertain and very kind of crazy. And I would like to say Filip Turek has been making various ridiculous excuses, which have also on social networks been the subject of a lot of comic comment. Do you know he's been saying, well, when I go into the pub, I often give my mobile to other people. And maybe they have made those racist comments. It's not me. And so the situation is, what kind of person is this that he would be foreign secretary? The mind boggles.
Well, I want to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Let's just assume that this coalition government moves forward. What kind of impact does this have on the region, Central and Eastern Europe, and then potentially for the broader EU?
Well, this is quite an interesting point. Normally, obviously, quite a lot of commentators were totally shocked, and members of the public, that Babiš won the election. I would like to point out that it is really the fault of the previous centrist government, because there is a very difficult economic situation for maybe 20–30% of the Czech population. There is one other thing that is not often mentioned, that quite a lot of people are suffering from the actions of bailiffs. This is basically that you can't pay your debts and they seize your house or whatever. So there are regions, this is really quite interesting, economists have pointed out, while the cities in the Czech Republic are really economically wealthy, the countryside, there are regions which are really deprived, and this is why Petr Fiala's government fell. But of course, the idea that Babiš will help these poor people, he's an oligarch, for God's sake, that is crazy. So on the one hand, quite a lot of sort of kind of centrist people or right-wing people in the Czech Republic have been sort of shocked by the fact that Babiš, who was associated, maybe he's pro-Russian, whatever, will actually take the Czech Republic out of the Western kind of coalition, the European Union. But Babiš is a pragmatist. He already has actually been saying, under no circumstances, we will leave NATO or the European Union. He's an oligarch. What interests him, I suppose, like Trump in a way, is what is good for him. So I think he will basically push his businesses, and that doesn't, and he would actually endanger his businesses if he was hostile to Brussels, because he gets quite a lot of subsidies from Brussels. So my comment is that he may make some maniacal decisions, like he's saying he's against the Green Deal. He doesn't want to do anything against global warming. Maybe, whether he'll go that way. But I think it is quite unlikely that he would actually leave the European Union and be pro-Russian. He, in fact, has said, after he's been elected, that under no circumstances he would support Putin. So while there have been various comments from Moscow that it is very good for Russia that Babiš was elected in the Czech Republic, I wouldn't be so sure.
Okay, Jan Čulik, Senior Lecturer of Czech Language at the University of Glasgow, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of World Talks. Thank you so much for being with us, and we'll see you soon on TVP World. Goodbye.